So what does the learning style of a world-renowned musician have to do with training? Consider whether a boy who learned to play the piano by listening and feeling would have reached his full potential if instead his teachers insisted that he learn the piano by reading sheet music and books. The purpose of training is to help people become more effective in their work. It can help people develop and grow toward their potential. But our learners are diverse, and we need to recognize that everyone learns in a different way. Understanding and incorporating learning styles into our training can help us reach more people on a deeper level. Let's first take a look at the learning process to understand how learning styles come into play. Structured learning is the way we traditionally have passed on knowledge from teacher to student, or at least that's what we think. But according to David Kolb, knowledge is actually created through experience. Stop for a moment and consider, how does that compare to our traditional views of learning? When 6-year-old Yanni learned to play the piano by feeling the music already inside him, we think it's something remarkable. Perhaps it is something that only a chosen few can experience in a generation. But what if that isn't the case? What if we approach learning as something that starts with one person's experience? Research into learning styles provides some evidence that how we learn matters. David Kolb's model of the learning cycle illustrates that learning is a holistic process of adapting to the world. Knowledge is constructed by the learner, not the teacher. Our experience forms the basis of all new learning. Take a moment and consider how you are accustomed to learning and teaching. What role has experience played in your learning? Experience alone might not be enough for learning to take place. Did you ever know someone who made repeated mistakes and never seemed to learn from them? Maybe it was someone who always offended people and had no idea how he was being perceived. The experience of making a mistake, as we all know, isn't enough to learn from. Likewise, even positive experiences don't always result in learning by themselves. Reflection is the process of reviewing what has happened and gathering feedback about what has happened and why. Looking back on your own learning experience, do you think you took time to reflect on the initial experience? Did you ever notice how this experience was different from others you had previously? The abstract conceptualization step in the learning cycle is about coming to conclusions about what you have experienced and reflected on, and this is different from reflecting in that the result is a new idea or a modification of old thoughts and beliefs. For example, the person who learns he has not been communicating well with others after reflecting on his experience might decide that his old ways won't work for him anymore. New beliefs replace old ones, which is essential for the next step of experiential learning. The final step is active experimentation. This is where we act in and upon the world with our new set of beliefs. Are you able to see how your learning experience may have followed Kolb's learning cycle? What experiential learning theory teaches us is that no two people will learn exactly the same way with the same results. This paves the way for understanding why learning styles are important. Kolb's Learning Styles Inventory identifies 4 learning styles which match up with different parts of the learning process. People may tend to show a preference for one of these styles more often than others. Diverging learners are most often found in fields such as social work, public policy, and journalism. They are known as the reflectors and learn through feeling and watching the world around them. Assimilating learners are also called the theorists and are drawn to work in math and science. Convergers prefer thinking and doing. This style of learning is critical to fields like engineering and computer science, known for its pragmatism. Finally, the accommodating style learns through feeling and doing. These are people drawn to fields where they work closely with others, fields like human resources, marketing, and management. Consider what your style might be. Do you need hands-on activities in order to learn? If so, you might be drawn to doing. Do you learn best through personal experiences over books? If so, you might be someone who feels his or her way through learning. So let's take a moment and look at each of the learning styles a little more closely. Diverging or reflective learners are characterized as brainstormers. You'll know you're working with this learning style when the person shows an ability to see different viewpoints with an open mind. Gathering information, preferably in a group, is the preferred way for diverging learners to grow their knowledge and skills. Steven Spielberg is a famous example of someone who seems to show a preference for divergent or reflective learning. His quote on learning through listening captures his open-mindedness and orientation toward gathering many different points of view. Assimilating learners may make wonderful students for technical trainers. They can understand a great deal of information and may even be hungry for it. You'll know you likely have an assimilating learner when she shows good comprehension of the material you present and demonstrates an orientation toward more technical or analytical information. She will also likely tolerate long lecture-based training sessions well, whereas other learners may need more varied approaches. Albert Einstein is probably the world's best-known assimilating learner, known not only for his genius but also for his orientation toward the good of humankind. Einstein always put his extraordinary findings into the simplest of terms. The ability to put information into concise, logical form is one of the hallmark qualities of assimilating learners. Without converging learners, it's hard to imagine a world with innovation. People with this learning style may develop skills through their learning that puts ideas to practical use and solves problems. If you are teaching a converging learner, he or she will appreciate opportunities to experiment with the material you're presenting in simulated or lab exercises. Steve Jobs is likely one of the most influential converging learners in recent times, with his incredible passion for innovation and design. This former CEO of Apple made the company stand out, not just as a computer company, but as an electronics company that designed the best products in the market. This reflects his exceptional orientation toward putting his ideas and problem-solving ability into products we love to use. To reach his potential, a converging or pragmatist learner like Steve Jobs most needs to have time and space for experimentation. If this kind of learner discovers a better way of doing things, we'd be wise to listen. Accommodating or activist learners are all about doing things with people. They are typically extroverted individuals who enjoy working with their peers to get hands-on experience with the subjects and topics they're learning about. You'll notice these kinds of learners looking to you as the instructor or their peers for information, and once they have that information, they may be enthusiastic about applying it to their work. The late Steve Irwin captured the hearts and minds of children and adults alike with his enthusiastic and fearless approach to learning about wildlife. He could be found outdoors with crocodiles, snakes, and other animals, and had a way of knowing how to handle them that amazed and inspired us. To get excited about learning, an accommodating or activist learner like Steve Irwin needs the opportunity to have hands-on experiences, preferably with other people. Despite strong evidence that learning styles exist, there is actually no clear evidence that teaching to one's preferred learning style will improve educational outcomes. This is good news if you're concerned about how you could possibly address all these different learning styles in a single training session. You don't have to teach to every individual style. But if we revisit Kolb's learning cycle, we can see that learning isn't complete without all parts of the process. Leaving out any part may not be a sound educational practice. Naturally, some learners are likely to gravitate toward certain parts of the learning process, but in our role as educators, we must gently nudge those students to engage all their abilities as thinkers, doers, feelers, and observers in order to make the most of any opportunity to learn. As with investing, diversification improves your chances of success. Here are some suggested ways that you can reach learners with preferences for different styles. Consider which tools make sense for the topic or content you're trying to teach, and make it fun. The beauty of learning styles is that there is no single best way to learn. Try incorporating something new into each training and share your ideas.